We raise ace-ace in the cutoff. The button 3-bets us to 8 big blinds, and we return with a rather small 4-bet to 18 big blinds. The button ends up calling, and we're 144 effective big blinds deep. We make a really standard C-bet on this board. The button calls, and on the turn, rather than bet again, he actually opts to check, and I think makes I'm pretty sure what he perceives to be a really happy call in this situation. And he was wondering a few things. First of all, the main question that he had was, he thought that at most that he's really only facing worse pairs and floats, or just the stone nuts with top or middle set here with pocket tens or pocket jacks. Therefore, he felt that a bet would not really be accomplishing all that much. But when checking, he felt that when checking, occasionally he'd be shoving worse for value, or at least betting worse for value, and at the same moment he would also be turning a few hands that were floats into a bluff. So, and finally, let's go with some of the reads that he had on his hand. He says that we're playing against a 21-17, one of the better regulars in the games, who 3-bets only 6% here, and his fold to 4-bet is only 22%, which actually makes a lot of sense because his 3-bet is such a tight sample. He said it's over a 4,000 hand survey, and he's winning money when he sees flop at 44% and winning money at showdown at 46%. He also felt that they had a dynamic. He didn't really go into a lot of detail, but I'm assuming that means that they've both been seen making plays against each other, seeing some barrels, going back and forth, playing a lot of pots together. So he felt that he'd be flatting his 4-bet in position with a wider range that consisted of 8-8 plus, ace-x suited broadways, and king-x suited broadways. So before we go into whether a bet on the turn is really the best play here, I think the first thing is to really evaluate what actual range is 6%. So I think most people would actually be quite surprised at what this number actually means. If we go down to 6% of hands preflop, where 6 really isn't that wide a range, so I don't even expect him to be having a ton of different hands. I would assume, considering they are 140 big blinds deep, that probably pocket 8s, a hand like that's probably not going to be a hand that he's opting to 3-bet in position, because I'm not sure he would know what to... I mean, obviously not knowing a ton about the player, but I think most players would have a hard time 3-betting this hand and knowing what to do with it if they are 4-bet or if they are called. So I think probably we can get rid of pocket 8s. All of these other hands certainly make a lot of sense, but let's take out a hand such as ace-10 suited, for example, and let's just throw in I think we can probably throw in about 7 or 0.7% worth of bluffs here. So let's just throw in a hand that I think a lot of players like to 3-bet with. So let's throw in a hand like ace-deuce suited and ace-5 offsuit. Actually, let's just immediately get it down to ace-5 offsuit. So ace-5 offsuit, what that does is that just makes up for the bluffs in his range. I don't think there's going to be a ton of them, and this is the reason for it. So we've eliminated pocket 8s from this range, and we're going to throw in ace-5 offsuit, and let's throw in ace-deuce suited as well. And then we get back to our 6%, which I think is a very likely range for a guy that he was calling a pretty tight player. Now, he says that he only folds at 22%, which makes a lot of sense, right? Because we have all these very strong ranges here. So what sort of hands is he going to be folding to the 4-bet? 22% of the time. Well, we can immediately take out these bluffs that we have here. So now we're down to 4.8% of hands, which makes sense for him to continue with, whether it be 4-betting or 5-betting or just calling a 4-bet. So now we're down to really 9s plus, and ace-jack and king-queen suited plus. Now, I think we can pretty safely assume here that pocket aces and pocket kings, if they opt to 3-bet, are just going to be getting the hands in. So I think we can certainly eliminate that. I also think that the majority of people that are going to be 3-betting ace-king on the button, even if they are 140 big blinds deep, are also going to be 5-betting them all in. So we can certainly get rid of the regular ace-king offsuits. And let me see which aces he actually has in his range here. Okay, he has the ace of spades and the ace of diamonds. So anything with ace-king suited, we can certainly get rid of the diamonds and the spades because that's not part of his range. Quite honestly, I'm not even sure that we can really even include these final two. Ace King suited, I think most of the time they would get it in. So let's leave it with one combination of Ace King suited. What we're left with makes, quite honestly, a good bit of sense.